Oh, hi. I didn't notice you there. I was busy reading.
Talking to my friends and colleagues, I realized that I read quite a lot, but it hasn't always been like that. In the past, when I was a teenager, I was quite resentful to the whole idea of reading. But somehow now I turned into somebody whose suitcase looks like this. And it got me thinking why I actually love reading, what's in it for me, and what has changed. And I started to reflect first on what are the benefits that I clearly see and feel. Starting off with number one, definitely concentration. And I think reading is in a lot of ways the same as meditation, because you are simply focusing on doing one thing, you're concentrating on reading, and basically the whole world disappears if you're really focused, if you're really into it. And that way I definitely feel like, yes, it has been improving my concentration, and together again with the meditation is just making wonders. Next thing is, of course, vocabulary. When you read, your vocabulary magically expands. You become way better when it comes to using like pretty interesting words. And maybe you cannot tell from the way I talk in this video because English is not my native language, but still. Even when I read in English, I try to pay attention on the words, of course, that I don't know, but also I pay attention to the sentences, to the ways the phrase is built, to the ways the words are embedded into the whole flow of the text. And little by little, I incorporate some of these words and sentences into my life. And yes, I see the difference. And I think that you can definitely distinguish a person who reads a lot from the person who doesn't read that much by the complexity of their speech. My memory is getting better, and there has been actually some studies that has proven that yes, reading improves your memory. And I don't know how exactly I can explain this, but I do believe that it is getting better. In the past, even when it comes to books, when I was reading, it was really hard for me to remember what I'm reading about. Like a week passed and that's it. Everything is vanished from my brain, it's gone. But now my memory is definitely getting better, but it is a combination of the way I read, because I don't read just for the sake of reading. I read because I enjoy it. I am being attentive and really concentrated on what I read. So in the end, I can actually memorize what I read. And I guess that can say that I can also memorize some other things in my life. Yeah, my memory is definitely getting better. At least I can tell it by the fact how I memorize the contents of the books that I read. Reading books also makes me feel really, really inspired. And I'm not talking only about, some biographies. Like I recently read Matthew McConaughey's biography, and man, oh man, this human is just amazing and it is so inspiring. But just overall, I am inspired by the stories, by different approaches to handling things. And I'm genuinely inspired by the idea that people can create books, that some of us can actually sit down and tell a story and do it in such a nice and inspiring way. This is just amazing. So yeah, inspiration. If you are lacking in inspiration, just try to read something. And I think as a consequence of the previous point, reading actually helps me like broaden my mind, like with the help of reading, I think it was told by somebody, you can travel different worlds, different lives, different centuries, and all of it just from your couch. So you open a book and you instantly you're sucked into a whole completely different dimension, and you can learn so much about relationships, about the world, about history, about whatever you want, whatever you're paying attention to. So I think this is one of the greatest benefits of reading that I have noticed. But obviously, apart from the whole, these benefits of reading, why exactly I like reading? What has changed in my approach to reading that made me love it? I will start with quite obvious thing. I enjoy to read because I read what I enjoy. I know myself. I know genres that I prefer. Should it be like some mystery books or some historical romance or some books about how our brain works and our cognitive function? I know I enjoy. So whenever I want to read something and I don't know what book to pick up, I just know in which direction I should go. And then I just simply start. And the second point is, of course, I don't read what I don't enjoy. It's that simple. And I think, yes, I used to have this idea in my mind that whenever I start a book, I gotta finish it. Whether it comes from school or I don't know, it doesn't matter. But now, when I'm grown up and when I read to enjoy, I'm telling myself, okay, I don't enjoy reading that book. It's not bringing any benefit to me, my life. I'm just wasting my time. I'm not focusing. I'm not memorizing anything. I'm just consumed by the idea that this book is just so freaking boring or something like that. So I just give it up. Let it go. Of course, it probably doesn't apply to the cases when you're working on your thesis or something like that, but we're talking about books as a way to relax and enjoy ourselves. And by the way, the next point is I read to actually relax. And I've been mentioning this before in my videos that if some of us think still that scrolling is a way to relax and rest, it's not working like that. When we scroll, our brain is overstimulated and it is focusing on just doing this constant dopamine, getting whatever, blah, blah. But when I read, I actually relax. I concentrate on the book. I am being involved into the story and I can really feel rested after I read. When I read a book, I feel inspired and I feel, just, it's just a different level. And definitely I think books are a way to relax. I read a book every evening before going to bed and it just sets my mind into this resting/dreaming mode and gives my brain a little bit of something to think about during the night. Of course, I play with formats. I don't only read paper books, I also read to audiobooks. Digital books have not been really my thing yet. I don't have a Kindle or any ebook. I only have like paper books and audiobooks, but that combination is already more than enough. Now when I walk, I always sort of read because there's an audiobook in my ears. So I go to grocery store, I read. I go outside just for a walk, I read. I don't know, I'm stuck in traffic, I can read because I can always listen to audiobook, and that way first I can read more, and second I think audiobooks bring a lot to the whole reading experience because it's like somebody else telling you a story with all the accents, with all the additional like emotion that they add to the storyline, and this is obviously really, really great. Also now when I read, I always make notes, and it's not just because I'm a journaling nerd and I like putting everything on paper. This is also because I find this as a way to reflect on whatever I read, on a thought that I found interesting, or just in general, a nice way to put additional thoughts that you have about books, your own feelings or emotions or thoughts on paper. And that is one of the ways actually to memorize what the book is about. I don't use the pen to underline like important notes or whatever, because usually I send the books to the book crossing stations or to libraries, but I do put notes and thoughts that I liked into notebooks, and then I can also reflect on them in the future if I want to. So as a conclusion, reading is amazing, and if you're still not reading, please try, but I'm pretty sure that everybody reads by now, and there are so many ways to expand your reading experiences using ebooks and audiobooks, and of course good old paper books. Thank you for staying with me today, and I wish you, as always, a nice and beautiful and precious day, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.